Hilmi Children's Fund. How are we doing?
Hello.
Hello, Abubakar. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Good evening, ma.
Good evening.
Mm.
Is there anybody else from the team?
Yes, hello, good afternoon. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Hello, Tovia.
Oh, great. Thank you. Good
Good afternoon.
afternoon. Welcome. So sorry for the network delay. It's so good to have you all here. You're welcome to today's webinar.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. So we're just waiting for the last person to come in. Well, while we wait, we're just going to go ahead and introduce the webinar while we wait for our third panelist to come on board. So hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, whatever time that you're seeing us, wherever you are joining us today. We are thrilled to have people from all around the world join us for a very important conversation today, and we want to warmly welcome each and every one of you. My name is Motovia, and I'll be your host for this very important discussion. So for us at ICF, women's empowerment isn't just power, it is at the heart of everything that we do. In fact, it's at the core of everything that we do at ICF. It's integral to our work, our approach, and our vision and mission for a more equitable and a just world. In fact, our amiable executive director, Mrs. Mariam Algi Abdul Mumin, the executive director of Ilmi Children's Fund, wouldn't be able to lead this wonderful organization if she wasn't empowered. So that's to show you that when you empower a woman, she empowers other people alongside with her. So welcome again to today's very important discussion. Today's webinar isn't just another conversation, where people just come together to talk, and then there's nothing to show for it. We want to really have like a very um, interactive conversation where everyone gets to, contribute to how we can better empower women. What are the steps? What actions can we take as a people to empower women? Whether we're in high government positions, whether we are just business people, whether we are students, whether we are lecturers, whatever position that we find ourselves, how can we, in our own little way, empower women to become better in life? So this time last year, we celebrated International Women's is usually done on the 8th of March, which is supposed to be tomorrow, but ICF, we are hosting our own discussion today. So let's say on the 8th of March last year, we celebrated this same International Women's Day with the theme inspiring inclusion. For this year, International Women's Day, the theme is for all women and girls, rights, equality, and empowerment. But for us at ICF, our sub-theme is inclusive empowerment, creating equal opportunities for all women and girls. So like we had promised in our introductory video that we want this session to be very, very interactive, I would like everyone to, put in the chat box, what they have done, what they had done last year to inspire inclusion for the women around them. So anything at all that that you have done last year that's in your own little way, how you've helped to inspire inclusion towards women empowerment. We would like to read and hear from you. So please let's get chatting. You can put it in the chat box and then I would share what you have shared. Thank you. So as we dive into today's discussion, I want to challenge each and every one of you. What will you do to empower the women in your life and community? What is that thing that you hope to do to empower the women in your life and in your community? Whether it's through mentoring or advocating or by simply, amplifying their voices through your actions. What is that thing that you would do to empower women? So just keep this in your head. Keep this, maybe if you have a notepad, just write it down somewhere. We are going to come back to it. That very thing that you're going to do starting from today to empower a woman in your life. So let's go to the comment section and see if anyone has shared something with us yet. Hi guys, please share. We're waiting for your comments. So we want this session to be very, very interactive. What's that thing that you've done from the celebration of last year's International Women's Day to empower a woman that is close to you? What is that one thing that you've done? And while you're also putting that, would also like you to tell us the one person in your life, that one woman in your life whom her actions inspire you, whom you want to celebrate tomorrow. Tell us that one person. And if you would like to go further, you can tell us why they inspire you and why they would be the woman you'll be celebrating tomorrow. So please let's go ahead and put that in the chat box while I introduce our moderator for today's webinar. So before I introduce the moderator for today's webinar, I would like you guys to show her some love by dropping some hearts, some claps. Just show her some love in the comments and chat section. Show her some love, clap for her. She's an inspiring woman, and then she's going to be joining us today to moderate this very important conversation. So let's encourage her, guys. Show her some love, clap, and anything at all that you can show her.
Sorry. Our moderator today is a visionary leader and an internationally recognized creative artist, photographer, filmmaker, and specialist. Currently serving as the Director General at Center for Black and African Arts and Civilization. Well, good afternoon, everybody. It seems like we may be having an issue with Tovia. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we
Yes.
can.
Okay, I think I'll take over now. My name is Aisha Ademwaugi. I am the current Director General at the Center for Black and African Arts
Hi,
and
good afternoon. Can you hear me now?
Civilization. Tovia, I've taken over. I'm introducing myself. Can you hear me?
I think she has network
Okay,
issues.
yes, she may have network issues. So I think we'll just proceed so we don't keep people waiting. It's already been 14 minutes since we started. My name is Aisha Ogi. Like I said, I'm your moderator for today. And just like we keep talking about gender,
Thank you.
thank you, Tovia. We'll catch up with you later. So we're talking today. Today, obviously, we are commemorating the International Women's Day and month. It's a month-long activity where we celebrate our women. We advocate for the different things that affect women all around the world. And this is what ILMI Children's Fund is doing, with our general theme for this session being inclusive empowerment, creating equal opportunity for all women and girls. And I'm excited today because we have a 50-50 panel, which means one male, one female, right? So we're looking at gender equality and gender balance, and we are definitely also showcasing that. So I'll introduce our panelists. We have Mr. If you allow me, I'm going to read from my other screen so I can introduce them properly. We have Mr. Abubakar Sadiq Ismail. Welcome, Mr. Abubakar. Are you here with us?
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm here.
Thank you. So, Mr.
Yeah.
Abubakar is a dedicated advocate for gender equality and women's empowerment. He's a he for she who believes in using his creative talents to drive positive change. With over 6 years of diverse experience in brand and product design, he has collaborated with innovative startups, agencies, and pursued freelance projects, crafting designs that not only captivate visually, but also enhance user interaction. I think you will explain to us what user interaction is. I recently made a mistake with one of my boys who was trying to explain that to me. His expertise lies in transforming complex ideas into beautiful, intuitive visual experiences that resonates with others. He's passionate about creating memorable user experiences and effective brand identities. He's thrives on solving design challenges and delivering solutions that make a lasting impact, both in design and in fostering a more inclusive world. And obviously, we're looking at Mr. Ismail, connecting it to technology and digital inclusion. And then we also have our next panelist, someone of note that sometimes I am in awe of, many times, my sister, Hansatu Adegbite. Hansatu, are you here with us today? Oh, you're muted.
Sorry, I'm
Yes,
here.
I'm always very happy to be with you. We always find ourselves in these spaces. But let me introduce you. With over 20 years of experience in the nonprofit, private sector, and volunteer management, Hansatu is a strategic leader skilled in driving initiatives, building alliances, and achieving measurable social impact. Her expertise includes fundraising, budget management, program leadership, and corporate governance. A passionate advocate for diversity, inclusion, and women's empowerment, she has contributed to multiple national and international committees, many of which I am a witness of, including 2 Nigerian presidential committees and several UN women committees. Hansatu is a Harvard Business School and the University of Abuja alumni and holds degrees in business administration. She currently serves as the national consultant on private sector partnerships with UN Women and was our former executive director of WIMBIZ. For those who don't know WIMBIZ, Women in Management, Business and Public Service. We harassed her and suffered her a lot with WIMBIZ, dedicated to mentorship and training. She also serves as a trainer at institutions like the National Institute of Policy and Strategic Studies and Pan-Atlantic University. So I'm very honored to have the two of you on here today. And with Hansatu, our focus obviously is on mentorship and education for female leadership. So welcome. To Ilmi Children's Fund, International Women's Day, Mr. Abubakar Ismail and Ms. Hansatu Adegbite. I am
Yeah, thank
honored
you.
to have the two of you here. Obviously, we are running out of time. We should have started earlier, but so we apologize for the slight delay in beginning this. So I think since we are more women here than men, let me be a she for he. Let me be a she for
Yes.
he and start with Mr. Ismail. So first off, I would like you to just give us a basic understanding of what you do.
Okay. Again, like she said,
As
thank you for
layman as possible for those of us who
yes.
aren't tech savvy.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, thank you for having me once again. Happy to be here in the presence of Mrs. Hansatu Adebite and Miss Aisha Ogi and Ilme Children Fund. Again, my name is Abubakar Sadiq Ismail. I'm a basically what I do to a layman. I'm a graphic designer, and we work on more. I feel like I would say more complex side of designs, which has to do with creating, like crafting brand identities, and we design brands and we create strategies for better marketing. I also believe what we do goes beyond just the visual side of things. It's also kind of like experimenting the psychological side of things from by considering the user's perspective and also how does the brand connect with their target audience. That's on the brand's point of view. And then for the product side, I also design mobile applications, web applications, websites, and all that. So even the platform we are using like this, you have to design it before the developers, build it out. So we are the architects of what you are seeing right now. So exactly the way I would put it is for someone that is planning a house project, right? You give an architect to plan and draw a house before you give builders to start building it, right? So what I do is the architectural side of the technology, which is the design. So we design interface, we design experiences for users to, and we confirm that users behavior align with what we are designing before we take it to implementation side. And therefore, when the implementation is done, there is no feedback that collapse what has been done and then a new stuff has to be done again. So I feel this is the best way I could probably put it.
I'll try to break it down. So basically, how we interact with technology, right? So if I put on the
Yes,
screen, what are the different things that I need to touch or
yeah,
experience?
exactly.
That is
Yeah,
what you
exactly.
design. Did I get
Yes,
that right?
yeah, that's what I
Okay,
do.
excellent. Because I've told you this, I had this, my son was trying to explain this to me, and I'm like, my generation, where our tech is not to that level. So you
That
see, you
advanced.
speak with the mindset that we may understand what that is.
Yeah,
But I really find it interesting because, like you said earlier about architectural, how they do the design. So we know where the door is going to be. It's not that they're actually building, but without
yeah,
that, the people who are building it cannot experience movement in the house,
of
right?
course.
Using
Yeah,
your analogy. So I know that there's a huge gender gap in the technological space. And that's
yes,
why I said, okay, since we're starting with you, we have spaces that are very women led, but in the tech space, we know that there's a huge gap when it comes to the number of males and females interacting and working within that space. So I'll just say, if you can give us a little bit of context on how you feel women can be supported with your type of work that you do.
okay. I feel so basically this has came up before for me, and I think this is more or less like a form of uh, kind of like inclusivity for gender role in the tech industry. And we've actually I feel one of the best ways to understand the barriers, right, before you dive into the actual solution. So most of the time, the barriers are usually centered around, maybe access to technology, right, and maybe the safety and digital rights, right, and sometimes the cultural and social norms in many cases. So if we understand how these things are, we can easily dissect. We can dissect them and come up with a solutions that helps to create like a more inclusive environment for women in the tech industry. So
Yes.
some of the ways that I feel stuff like this can actually happen is creating a form of community, right, that supports women in tech in particular, right? We have a lot of communities now that are emerging, that are building, capacities for women to come into tech and work, and also have enough resources to, get more involved in what we do. And another thing is to kind of create an avenue for women to have direct access to practical, hands-on skills that will, especially in things like digital marketing, e-commerce, programming, and fintech solutions. So uh, we've had a lot of biases regarding things like programming, right? A lot of people
Yes.
feel like the hard part is more difficult for women. So it's easy to say,
I wonder
it's
why.
easy,
I wonder
yeah,
why there is that thought. Why?
yeah.
The
So
brain of a woman is not different from that of a man.
and in some
So,
cases, the truth is, women do a lot better in some cases in those fields than men. Reason being that,
yes.
sometimes you find that a woman's brain is more collected and is calm and is more like it's like for us men now, we are going through life in different aspects, trying to take care of this problem, take care of that, and then it so happens that sometimes women tend to have like a more collected mindset towards this, right? So
Okay.
yeah,
So I
so
wonder if I'll pause you there, Mr.
okay,
Ismail. I really like what you said about inclusivity and obviously access to tech, getting community support. And I
yeah,
think if you look at all of these things, we'll take it now to Hansatu based on her experience, because I know Wimbiz is a community of women. Like, it's a community of many of us supporting each other, and there's a mentorship program. And I would like to still come back to you later on this stereotype, because I want to kind of understand why it became a stereotype to believe that women wouldn't do well in tech. Because if we already have that thought process, then we're not going to go out of our way to have more women inclusive in that space in a way, because you're basically already not having the confidence in them. So I don't know. Hansatu, what are your thoughts on that? And also, as you're telling us your thoughts on what he's just mentioned, take it into the whole community of women and how you feel we can also connect these things together.
Okay, I
Mike
think
is yours, Hansatu.
so. Good afternoon to everybody, and then thank you so much, Aisha, for the invitation. Happy International Women's Day to all the women on the group, and then of course to the men. Thank you for your support. I think just generally, just like Aisha said, I know that they said our brains are sort of the same, but I guess we think in different ways. But when it comes to technology, because I will even say from my own perspective, in all the women groups I've
Yes.
worked in, anytime we're organizing a program, when you're organizing a program around tech, core tech, the attendance is and the interest is low.
Low.
Um, yes, it's lower, obviously. But if you are going to do a tech program and it's focused on men, you just see the place full.
Full, yes.
Traditionally, yeah. Traditionally, looking at some of the more critical skills, maybe like software engineering and so on and so forth, a lot of women are not in that industry. Of course, there are other softer areas of technology that you find more women. I was on a panel
Yeah.
just this morning with another young software engineer, and she said the same thing, that, within her space, even most of them within their organizations, that they're the only ones. I think one of the reasons I would say that maybe some of those gaps exist is because we don't catch them young. So very early within the opportunities for education. And when we're looking at education, I'm not even talking about traditional education of going to school. I'm just talking about skills development. Anytime we're doing some skills development, what usually happens around that skills development is that a lot of these women are not given that opportunity to start early. And so the skills that are needed to stimulate their curiosity, to just energize them for some of these male dominated industries are just not there. You also have situations whereby even some of our young girls, there are even their own families and their own communities discourage them from going into some certain areas when it comes to the kind of development that is needed for some of these spaces. And so I would just say that I think, again, we need to begin to encourage and advocate to not
Yes.
just parents and communities, just to advocate to them to begin to see the advantage and the benefits, to see some role models that have gone and are making a difference. We should use a lot of our male allies too to sort of speak up for the women, the girls, and so on and so forth. We know that a lot of them, after maybe like secondary school education, some of them don't further that. Some is even primary school. But again, we need to. I notice that when you want to sell something to anybody, you need to sell value. You don't sell the product or the
Exactly.
service, you sell value. So they need to see the value of the development in developing these young girls in these skills. They need to understand some of the impact it can have on their communities, on their families, on their resources, and then we begin to sort of create a narrative around that. I think that's what I really want to add at this time.
Yes, thank you so much for saying that, because when you say sell value, every time I'm speaking, I know people are probably tired of hearing me say that people can't aspire to what they don't know. When you go to certain communities and say, what do you want to become? Most
Yeah.
kids are going to see either speak about what they've seen based on the experience around them or what they have been exposed to. So it's very hard sometimes for women to see themselves in certain spaces when they've never had the chance to even be put in those positions, which will take me back now to Mr. Ismail. I don't know, where, since we have some women here, I see Hope. Hello, Hope. She said hi to us earlier. Since we have women on here, like, do you have any women examples that you can give us that are within your space or experiences you've had connected to women within the tech space?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Let me start with our first female ICT minister for Nigeria, who was Dr. Mobola Johnson. She's amongst those that were lucky that early in her career, she also sort of read a lot around technology. And so obviously she ended up becoming our first female minister of ICT. So I would say a position was created because of her, and she
Because of
kept
her.
it up.
You see.
Then, and the value of obviously to the country. But
Exactly.
there's another lady I want to also project, who is, well, okay, let me project more. We have Mrs. Funke Okpeke. She's the founder of Main One Technology. So a lot of the fiber internet hardware that we're enjoying, most of this internet, connectivity. Her company is the one that has done all those underground cables to contribute to technology. So she's the CEO of Main One. Then we have, I can come down to even the north. We have somebody like Dr. Amina Sambo Magaji. I'm so proud of Dr. Amina Sambo because she got a first class. Thank you very much. Somebody that got a first class, at least her first and second degree were in Nigeria and then in northern Nigeria. And she ended up even getting a first class and read AI. Who was even thinking of artificial?
Who was thinking of AI in that time? Yes.
And she read that. I love the fact that, of course, she has served with the public sector. She has been very much involved in the innovation and entrepreneurship aspect of technology.
That's a great example. Yes.
Thank you so much. We need that.
Yes.
And I mean, you can go on and on. There are some of them in the fintech space. Look at, we even have
currently the CEO Nigecomsat is a female.
Exactly. Thank you.
And she's very focused on ensuring there's grassroots penetration of satellite and stuff. So I'll take you back to Mr. Ismail, right? So based on your experience, Mr. Ismail, if you can let us know, some of the solutions you think the likes of you and your community can do as a he for she, obviously, to support women inclusivity in the tech space, not even just the tech space, in life in general.
Okay, so thanks again. I think some of the primary ways of pushing this for women to have like more inclusivity, right, is to sort of, especially in tech. I'll try to speak more in tech because it's more in my own area. So it's more or less like creating like safe spaces, right, like a safe community, right, for women to be able to freely express themselves, especially with whatever kind of talent or whatever ability they have, right, whatever they are planning or whatever they want to bring to the table. There should be a safe space for them to be able to express themselves, right, holistically. It doesn't have to be maybe just tech, right, but I'll be touching more on tech basically, right. And then for us, usually we support the idea of community a lot, a lot, a lot. And then for the most part, like I said, coming back to one of the stuff I mentioned earlier, which is the fact that the complex part of tech, most of the time you find that there's a lot less women there. In the company I work currently, we only have one female, right? We only have one female. And for some reason, she's actually in the complex side, which is the software engineering, right? So if there is safe space for women to be able to express themselves, it gives room for like growth, and it gives room for more like it helps the woman to, it helps whoever is involved to feel safe to like introduce this kind of experiences to other women in their, maybe within their circle. And then we also have stuff like flexible learning models that women can participate in, that helps guide, maybe provide like self-paced online courses where you can learn at your own free time, right? And maybe some form of hybrid models, right? That's maybe we have currently, like this school of UI design, Paxos, that just came to Abuja, and a few other maybe learning environment for them to be able to participate actively. And then again, we also have like incubation and maybe micro grants, like funding opportunities that like prioritize women-led ventures, like all these there are some like there are some ventures that are primarily focused on, I don't know if I'll say hiring more female employees.
So they're being very deliberate
Exactly. So
about the number.
yeah, exactly. Because if you look at most of the places I work, right, apart from this current one I'm working, you find out that the part where women are actually working is either in the soft skill side, right, which is things like maybe creative writing or social media management or maybe admin, right? But you barely find them, in the strong end of tech, which is software engineering, robotics, right? AI engineering and all that. But I feel there is a little bit more, empowerment that is coming in from different aspects of the tech community that helps women to get more involved in this. And I feel one of the best advice for this particular case in point is what what Mrs. Adigbite mentioned, which is catching them young, right? So, and a very good example is, I mean, a real world example is my wife is also happen to be a graphic designer, right? And she is an ex graphic designer at Ilmi Children Funds. So
Oh, nice.
yeah, exactly. So one thing that I feel helped her career is not just the fact that I was also very very supportive when I mean after our marriage, but it's the fact that when we grow where we grow up, right, we usually are encouraged to go out, and they put us in places to learn work, right, hand works and some other like so she happens to fall in the category of those that learn graphic design in the early stage. So she works at a printing company, she's learning when she was very very young, and she grew, like it grew as part of her, right? And it's not so
Yeah.
much part of her that looking at the passion she gave, because we tried every other thing, like, okay, maybe you should do this and see if it's a more fit environment for you in terms of career. But we find out that, the way she feels about graphic design, she's more passionate about it. And, like, we decided to now start, pushing more like resources for her to be able to grow in this field, like getting a laptop, giving her like a constant access to internet and being able to practice her craft, right? So consistently. So those are the things that actually, put her to the limelight. And then now, lastly, getting opportunity for internship and getting her to be able to intern, practice real world on the advanced level, and then hopefully getting a job. So this kind of
Yeah.
stages, like phases one after the other, is what, starting from when they are very very young, is what kind of fuels the passion for them to, you know get more involved in what we probably thought they wouldn't get inclusivity. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad you broke all these things down because, at the end of the day, for many women, even when they have the the insight or the love for what it is or the passion for what it is they're trying to do, they tend to not have support by the community around
Yeah.
them or by like their direct family. So I'm glad you're using your wife as an example because that's a good example for a he for she. And if we have more men like you that instead of pulling the women around you down,
Yeah.
you support them to move forward, you'll see we'll have a better and greater economy. And I say this because the economy is really what all of us need,
Yeah.
right? We need to move, we need to survive, we need to live. And if we have a better economy, we have better health systems, better education systems, it just interlinks to everything. When the women are falling behind, the community, society, government, everything falls behind. So I'll take it now back to Hansatu. I don't know, have you had any innovative ways, especially with regards to mentorship and making women aware? Because the kind of women that you've had the opportunity to meet, and apart from the grassroots women that I know, obviously there are many policies directed towards pushing the grassroots woman, but the community of women that are exposed, that have had the education, they have everything it takes to move forward, but they're stuck. What would you say to
Yeah.
them?
Well, I will still say you have to use technology.
So we're taking it back to
So
Ismail again. You see why it
you
was
know, in
important to have
fairness,
him here?
honestly, I always say that when you find yourself stuck, there are three things that can help you. Number one, it may be access to information, or when I say technology, I mean that these days online, there's nothing you cannot learn. And that is even for those that even have access to online opportunities like internet and YouTube and the rest. So for those that have that type of access, I've seen people that have taught themselves a lot of skills from scratch by just watching YouTube videos. So if you are somebody that has that opportunity and you're tech savvy and so on and so forth, you can learn any skill without paying a money outside data money. So that's the first one.
Yeah.
Number two, there are a lot of organizations now that have a lot of interventions free of charge for people, especially private sector organizations. You will see them always advertising something for free, one kind of knowledge sharing or intervention or the other. I will always say keep your eyes open to opportunities, leverage on them. Don't say, oh, I don't know, I think I'll get it. You have to just keep at it, because opportunities, sometimes you'll be surprised where it will take you to. Even me on my level, I'm still learning. If I see
We're
an
always
area that
learning.
we're learning. So don't
Constant.
stop.
Yes.
Then
Yes.
I want to encourage us too. Sometimes the little knowledge that you think you have can be somebody else's deliverance. So some
100%.
of us have, yes, you can go to some communities as your own way of volunteering and as your own way of giving back. That knowledge that you think you have that doesn't mean anything, go and gather a few, even if it's 2-3 people, at least you have made a difference in the lives of these people. But I would also say that we need to leverage on partnerships. sometimes there may be no opportunities, but you can galvanize people and leverage on partnerships to solve a problem. So if, for example, I want to solve a digital or technical problem or technology problem, I will look for, yes, there can be some private sector organizations like Google and the rest to say, okay, you can come and do this for free. But
Yes,
in return, you also have to put in the work to gather the people in a place that is gatherable.
that is
So
true.
leverage on partnerships, and if you have power to leverage with your government officials, you can also do that because they can give you some platforms that will give you more strength
Very
when you are
true.
partnering with this private sector. Yeah,
Very true. Very true.
thank you.
Thank you so much, Ansatu. It's always nice to hear your perspective. Because what you said, for me, I know starting out as a young person, um, the older generation were groomed in a certain way. So if you weren't doing the conventional career, you rarely got any support. So for someone like me that wanted to do art and photography, you can imagine 25 years ago what it meant to say this is what you wanted to do at a time when the only important thing was to be a lawyer, a doctor. Even architecture wasn't taken seriously like that for women especially, so after that type of experience, you definitely know that saying a kind word or even just expressing yourself, for me, I am learning so much from the younger generation that I mentor. I always say to them, you think you're learning from me, but everything you are doing is adding value to me also. So to the older women, um, even the men, you never know what you're going to pick up by interacting with the people that you're trying to support. And we can constantly talk about the problems, problems, problems. There's one thing I said, and that's why I was happy to have Mr. Ismail here, because when we're putting together even the women's events, we tend to talk to ourselves. We tend to talk to ourselves about the problems. We tend to talk to ourselves about the solutions, but we're forgetting 50% of the population is the men. We need them just as much as they need us. So I was happy when I saw Mr. Ismail had accepted to join us. But I want to just say, based on our own, like we're looking at the younger generation now, what are the kind of tech examples, Ismail, you can give us to show inclusivity within the tech space, like examples of maybe whether it's websites, like just guide us on what you know, any solutions you have that the people watching can also learn from.
Okay, I don't get the question right. Like, you want me
No,
to?
I was saying, so now for women who want to learn what you do, for example,
Yeah.
give us examples of whether it's sites,
Okay.
places that they can also go to,
Oh,
you
okay.
know.
Okay, so there are a lot of like she mentioned, Miss Adepite. There are a lot of free platforms to actually learn maybe design. In fact, 90% of the time for me now, I use YouTube a lot of the time because it's like a place to just get like quick solution to certain things, right? Like there are so
Yeah.
many things that you would not even expect you find on YouTube, and you'll be looking for a way to solve that problem, even with money sometimes. So I think one of the biggest place to learn any kind of thing, probably I don't even want to say just tech, would be YouTube, right? And then we have other places
Yes.
that they you pay very little money, which is like Udemy or Domestika, right? There are websites where you can pay very
Yes.
little money to learn a skill. They go as far as things like drawing, art, right? Photography, cinematography. It's
Yeah.
not just programming, design, graphic design. They go as far as, in fact, some of them would even teach you henna, right? They teach you the art of what.
Yes. Yes.
So you
Yes.
go to platforms like that, and then I think there's this platform called Coursera. They also offer,
Yes. Coursera
yes,
is
they also offer
also.
scholarships where you can actually apply, you learn, and then after that time, before maybe for your
Mm.
certification, if you get the scholarship, so you finish the course, but for your certification, you pay maybe, I don't know if I'll say maybe $30 or something, but you collect your certification. And for us,
Okay, but I want to pause there. Just sorry, not that I'm trying to cut you
no, no
off
problem.
because we're running out of time. So I just want to quickly. How about for those who, because we're talking inclusivity here, and we know obviously one of the number one problems is women have lack access to the internet,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So for those who, for example, how do we get those who do not have access to the internet to, learn? How do we do that? I know tech is obviously very internet heavy. So whoever is going to be in that space, but we're looking at solutions,
Okay.
right? So I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
Yeah.
Is there anything you know about, or anyone any organizations that may be able to support women who do not have access to these things?
I think for one of the organizations I know that does like a physical, because what the best way to approach this kind of issues is like I mentioned earlier, like when there is funded programs, right, that helps women to get direct access to all they need to thrive in this kind of ecosystem. So there are some of them that
Yeah.
are that are existing currently. I don't know a lot about them. I would have to probably research, but if there are environments like that where there is like maybe like a space where every other thing is there, right? It's just maybe the facilitator and the or people that will do the training for them, and then what they need to actually do all those practice their this thing is already available.
Yes.
Yeah. So there are some places you go to, there's laptop, there are computers, there are everything. It just looks like a cafe, right? There's everything there. All you have to go is just maybe you pay a very little amount of money, and you get full access to all you need, right? So an example of those places is something I probably have to research. I don't think I have any off the top of my head, but I
Yeah.
believe they are existing, and I've seen some of them. I just can't put like my thoughts directly to them yet.
Put a pin on it.
Exactly.
Yes.
So I believe they are
Yeah.
existing, and I believe more of them can actually be like created, right? Because as a co-founder of Abuja Creative Community, one of the things we are trying to do is to create, like, we also created like a channel, right, in our community that helps people to get direct access to resources they probably have to go and struggle to find, right? We also created a channel
Yes.
for job opportunities, and I believe we try to create a balance among the founders and the people of Abuja Creative Community, to we sort of create a balance. So we have like 2 to 3 females that help us run the entire community. So even the community
Against how many men?
against, I think, 4 men. We are not really much. Like, we the founders, we are not really much. Honestly,
I know it's good for
it's
us to
it's
have the
good that
context
we.
because sometimes we say it, but it's just like a token
Yeah,
number.
yeah, we are
So
we
I'm
are
glad.
we are
So four
7.
three is not
Yes,
bad.
we are 7. We are
Yes,
7.
4-3 is not bad.
So yeah,
Yes, yes,
exactly.
yes.
So
We like to put our money where our mouth
yeah,
is.
so I believe this is a coincidence.
So
It's not even necessarily we trying to think in the aspect of inclusivity and equality.
I
It just
actually would have
happens.
been happier if it was deliberate.
It's a coincidence because we just found ourselves and we're like, okay, this kind of stuff happen a lot in Abuja. There is community impact. People get where they can go and feel among, right? And
Yes.
we happen to struggle with stuff like that. There is no community activities here in Abuja for creatives. So we tried to create one, and we had our first event last year. It was a blast, and we are hoping more things can happen for us this year, and that way people get access, and so we are planning behind the scenes. So yeah, apart from
Thank
a
you.
lot of other things can also happen. So
Yes, I agree with that. Thank you for that breakdown and for explaining to us. And I'm very happy to hear about the Abuja creative community. I'm sure we can both, do better to help also support that community to ensure that it gets better. So I'll take it back to Hamseto. I believe we have like 7 more minutes to go. So I would just say that, is there any experiences that you feel is important as a story for us as women? Not just the women, to the men
Yeah.
also. What would be like your main punchline if you had the opportunity to speak to, let's say, a room full of presidents, for example?
Okay.
What would you say to them?
Um. First of all, I would say, for me, that we need to look at practical stories, and I think none pops up to me, even though I'm diverting to sports, like that of Toby Amusa. Her father was
Yes.
against her running. You can imagine that one is even running, keeping fit. But she
And
just knew inside her that she had to keep running.
that she had it.
And she kept running. She kept running, even amidst the opposition. Today, Toby Amusan has become a national treasure to us and a pride to her own father. So for me,
Yes,
the words that I will say is that the victories and the examples that we see from people's practical stories should be an indication to us of the difference that one person can make in the place of either education or being developed in a skill. If only we can look around us to the Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. If her father had not educated her, if her husband had not supported her as a husband, she will not be the DG of World Trade Organization. And the irony is that today, even men hail her and say they are so proud that she's a woman of our soil. But it takes the support from family, from professional networks, from individuals for these women to achieve what they want or need to achieve. And the irony is that the pride still goes back most times to either parents, spouses, or anybody that supported them to achieve those things. So why not give your young girls and your women an opportunity to help your own name be written in the sands of the historical, should I say, flash billboards of time, to say, because of this person, I am where I am today. I see so many successful women that make reference to either their fathers or mothers or this or that. Why can't you be that reference point? Because of the difference you have made in somebody's life. And then let us give women an opportunity to contribute their own quota to national development. It is to our collective benefit, advantage.
Yes. So because we only have 5 minutes, so I want to just quickly do a recap of what we've talked about before concluding. So obviously we're looking at the use of technology in designing brands. I know a lot of brand identities. This is what Mr. Ismail has told us about, the use of tech in designing brands and how we can include women in building the tech space. And obviously we know a lot of women do a lot of social enterprises. So imagine a woman who is solving social problems, having access to these interfaces. And I believe the likes of Mr. Ismail and his Abuja creative community can continue to make a difference by supporting women who come up with solutions, by helping them to build tech, and not just them, but anybody else who's listening. We talked about the importance of self-education. Mr. Ismail listed out free courses online. For those who are watching this, it's clearly a webinar. So that means you do have access to the internet. And because you do have access to the internet, you can train yourself using the various different free things that you can learn online. And of course, invest in yourself if you can. We also have looking at training, mentorship, having communities like WIMBIZ, the Abuja Creative Community, is also important in supporting the sustainability of women in the various sectors they find themselves. You gave us an example of Toby Amuson, and I think that's a great example because everybody loves to associate with success. I think the only one thing that I would tell anybody, because that is also my experience, I was told I couldn't do it, right? I was told you couldn't be, even where I am today, I was told I couldn't be here. Do you understand? So what you need to do is believe in yourself, and trust me, success is nobody's enemy. Even those who hate you, be successful. They will be there. And I think that's the great example you used, Toby, for. You said one person can make a difference. You gave an example of Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. I know so many people who today are looking into the finance space. They're studying finance, they're studying business administration, they're studying policy and entrepreneurship, strategy, things like that, because they listen to the likes of Madam Okonjo-Iweala. And she has a strong example of what it means to have family support, not just her father, her husband, but even her children. Amazing family support system, a great example of how a family can support you to move forward. We also talked about supporting your spouse using our he for she as a great example. You know, I am 100% sure that Mr. Ismail, even with your support, there are days she needs stuff. She doesn't have to come to beg you for anything. She will go ahead and do it for herself. And that reduces the burden because in as much as we're looking at gender, we also burden the men with a lot of the things that we carry. And because we have societal belief systems that say that men are meant to take care of us, you end up having a home that is very stressed out because your man is unhappy because as soon as he walks into the door, is one bill or the other, right? Mr. Ismail, I know that's a lot of complaints from a lot of Nigerian men. So I
Yeah,
like that
definitely.
you have that support system. And so we as women should also see how we can support the men in our lives moving forward. We also talked about selling value. I think that is super important because, in as much as we have the religious and cultural ways of doing things, it is very important to add that value to tell the people who are not as open minded as we are that this is important, supporting women is important, and we'll continue to grow together. I think our time is up. We have literally 1 more minute. I would like to say thank you to Mr. Ismail and thank you to Mr. Adegbite. And I hope we get more time to do this moving forward, hopefully in person, the next International Women's Day. Happy International Women's Day to all the women around the world, to everybody who's joined us. And thank you so much to Ilmi Children's Fund for having us here. We appreciate you for all the work that you do. And thank you to our panelists for taking the time. We know how busy you all are. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you.
Thank you.